Good afternoon all. Am I audible? Excellent. First of all, thank you very much for Baby Memorial for inviting me for this wonderful session as a speaker. And I would like to extend my sincere gratitude especially to the CEO, Dr. Soman Jacob, as well as Dr. Vinod. And I would like to congratulate Baby Memorial Hospital Management organizing this kind of sessions. So for the last this is the second year you have been doing it. Congratulations from our side. Can I get my slide? For the next 45 minutes, I'll be discussing with you regarding basically the transformation happening in the HR practices with some emphasis on the healthcare. These are the points which we are going to discuss. As the healthcare sector, no need of more explanation to healthcare sector. Anyway, you are all belongs to healthcare sector. HR transformation, people, that's what the main topic which I am going to discuss, especially it's a mix of generations. So that is one of the biggest challenge HR is facing now, how to deal with the mix of generations in the coming years. And certain key findings on the recent surveys and studies happen in HR practices and some leading trends globally. And one particular operation model I want to share with you, which is actually my hired from KPMG. Before going into deep into the sessions, HR, globally there is a perception. Many people doesn't know what HR has to do or what HR is doing. Sometimes HR doesn't know what HR is doing. So I just want to show you a video. It's 4-5 minutes. Please watch it. Then we will go into the session. How to play this? Any idea? It's in the presentation, so it's not going to play. I have the pen, right? There are some technical issues, or I skip because time is growing. This one, last one. It's okay, fine. So there are some, go to the presentation. I'm sorry for that. It's unable to play the video. Nothing about. We will go into the sessions. So healthcare service sector. You all know that healthcare is a service industry. Healthcare more than any of other service sector industries depends on people to carry out its mission. HR accounts for a high proportion of budget assigned to the healthcare sector. If you take the operational expenses, it's around between 40 to 45 or up to 50% of the cost goes to HR expenses. Globally, 35 million persons employed in healthcare. That is according to the 2014 International Labour Organization public. The economic and human cost for pure HR is high in the healthcare sector. Healthcare services mission, your strategic plans or quality improvement initiatives, everything is being in vain if you don't have an appropriate people strategy in place. So whatever you do to improve the healthcare quality delivery, but you don't have a strategic plan, people strategy in place, it is going to be in vain. Healthcare key stakeholders are people. Whatever be the mode of the care you are going to give, whether it is rehabilitative or chronic or diagnostic or promotive or preventive, people are the centric point. So that is the main element which HR comes into the importance. So the question is human resource, the workforce is one of the major challenges in healthcare. Whether this human resource, who are going to deliver this care which we are envisaging, whether we have sufficient workforce, whether are they rightly motivated, are they competent enough to lead the organization or to deliver the care as we envisage? Is the available workforce well distributed? and whether they are well supported with the guidance as well as regulations and norms. Any of the questions above come with an answer no, it's a underutilization of human resource, which is one of the greatest resource. Without any depreciation, we are wasting or we are misusing that resource. So the question, what is the best practice? That is what we are going to discuss now. HR, for the long years, we all heard about personal management to HR. It's a long way, the history of organizations. HR got the history. It started from personal department, just like an administrative role. It went to the second phase, concentrating on efficiency. What is operational HR we call, then it went to the third phase, that is effectiveness. We concentrate on result and developing talents. Now the last phase which we are facing or we are going into or which we are into practice now is business HR. You might have heard business HR, high impact HR. HR started involving in the business. HR started involving in designing business strategies. So let us discuss a little more detail. When we moved from the first phase to the second phase, that means the personal department, the administrative role to the operational HR, the point of concentration was increasing the efficiency, setting up service centers, and supporting the main operations or the delivery. When we move into the second phase to third phase, the point of concentration was effectiveness. We concentrated more on results. We concentrated on developing talents. We started investing on learning and development, developing our people. We started generating our leaders. We started working on key performance indicators. And HR started to set HR strategies in align to the organizational strategies. This phase, the third phase, is very familiar to us. We are all going through that, I believe. The fourth phase, HR moved into the business strategy. Even at the time of setting up the organizational strategy, HR is playing a vital role. HR got a business responsibility like finance, operations, marketing, etc. Capability building, HR is responsible to build the capability for the organization to take the organization to the future. Leadership inventory, HR, it is HR's responsibility to ensure that there is enough. We have been talking about leadership development, all this throughout the day. So who is going to do that? It is the responsibility of human resource to ensure that enough leadership is ready there for the organization to go into the future. Know the business locally, HR has to understand the business. HR is not to support, but HR has to understand the business and accordingly involved in the business strategy development. Outside in is a new concept. HR has to do big data analytics, go outside and understand what exactly the customers looking for from the organization. So what the organization want to do, accordingly that has to be brought in. Clear? Before going into the other HR trends, this is one of the biggest challenges which we are facing. By 2020, human resource people are going to manage 5 generations. You may be familiar with all other generations like traditionalists, baby boomers, Gen X, most of us may be falling in Gen X, and Generation Y, that is called millennials, and the 5th generation going to come into the workforce maybe the next year, 2017 onwards. So we are going to have a mix of 5 generations which we are going to manage. It's a big question before human resource, how we are going to handle a people of from 18 years to 80 years. So you can see, this is a different area of different generations. Traditionalists, they were concentrating on what they faced exactly. They were disciplined, they were workplace loyalty, moved to the births and vaccines, where boomers, they found a lot of issues like moon landing, Vietnam, civil women's rights, experiments, innovators, hardworking, and personal computer. Gen X, fall of Berlin Wall, Gulf War, independent, free agents, internet, TVs, AIDS, and mobile phones, which we faced. And millennials, born after 1977, they faced the 1911 attack, the community service, confident, diversity, social everything, Google, Facebook, and another generation going to come into the workplace. That is actually by 2020, the generation Z is going to be in the workplace. Maybe in 2017 onwards, you can expect them into the workplace. So each generation's bringing something into the society. There are good and there are threats as well. So how we are going to manage all these generations together in the workplace to achieve the organizational goals or the societal requirements? That is the question before us. For this demands a generational intelligence. When we talk about generational intelligence, it's not a big deal, but still, this process involves becoming critically aware of the values and attitudes underpinning beliefs about the intergenerational relations. How we are going to underpin the different cultures of different various generations. The process clears the way to action that it is generationally sustainable. This action has to bring a result which generationally sustainable. All generation, there is nothing, one thing fit to all. So how we are going to do, this is what the biggest challenge in front of HR. Coming back into the HR transformation, this is actually a study report, 2015 Global Human Capital Trends Leading in the New World of Work done by Deloitte in 2015. So their findings exactly, the softer areas such as culture, engagement, leadership, and development have become urgent priorities. It is true that we are started concentrating on these areas. Leadership and learning have dramatically increased. We started investing more into that, but still the capability gap is there. Whatever investing we are into the learning and development, it is not enough to bridge the capability gap. HR organization and HR skills are not keeping up to the business needs. Still, HR has to improve a lot. HR technology systems are growing in market, but their promise most of the time it is not fulfilled. Talent and people analytics are in high priority and tremendous opportunities are there, but progress is very low. Simplification is the emerging theme. HR is always a part of the problem, a part of the discussion. These are the key findings, depends upon this survey. And some trends, there are few trends which they want to classify into 4. Mainly leading, engaging, reinventing, and reimagining. I'll just explain one by one. Leading, here we want to discuss the leadership issues. Who is going to develop the leaders? We answered it is the responsibility of HR. So how you are going to develop leaders? How you are going to develop leaders? We discussed in the morning that leaders are not born leaders. They are developed. So HR has to take the responsibility to develop leaders in the organization which permit or allow the organization to go high. L&D concepts are getting changed. Capability building, organization should be capable to go forward according to the market requirements. Healthcare industry is drastically facing shortage of leadership to take up the organization up to the market demand. L&D concentrate on leadership development and capability building. You know that we are all investing in learning and development. Where you invest, how do you identify where you want to invest? We do skill gap analysis, right? We do performance assessment. Accordingly, we identify which is a weak area. We invest there to increase their skills and bring up to, this was the practice, right? You agree with me, sir? That was normally does. The CFO asked a question to the CEO. What happens if we invest on developing our people and then they leave us? You all might heard this question, right? Everybody ask. All finance people ask. Yes. Everybody will ask, you want to invest this much money to develop these people. And after 2 years or 3 years, they will leave. So what do you do? Only one answer. The CEO replied, what happens if we don't and they stay? If we are not ready to invest on developing any of the employees and they are continuing with you, the situation will be more disastrous than you are developing them and then they leave. So here the recent trend, we don't want to invest much L&D on the people who are weak. Instead, the most of the learning development investment should be concentrating on the people who are high potential or high performing. A key element of organization's learning strategy will target the long-term development of those identified as exceptionally high performing or high potential individuals known as talent and who are critical for long-term business success. This is the changes in L&D investments. I don't want to tell you that you should not invest on the people who are already weak and don't terminate everybody. Invest on developing their skill, it's fine. But developing the leaders, you identify the potential people and invest more on them to develop the leadership inventory. Clear? Engaging. Whenever we talk about engagement, every organization, every HR says, yeah, we have a lot of engagement activities. We do celebrate birthdays. We do have team building exercise. We have these functions, that function. Engagement doesn't mean entertainment. It's actually, the term has been raped by even HR professionals. Engagement means you have to engage your employees into business. You have to engage them into decision making. You have to engage them into acculturation. Because nowadays the work community, maybe in Kerala you have only Keralites. You can see that earlier in Kerala only Keralites were working. Slowly Tamilians has come into. I'm not against for any state. I'm telling you some status. Now you can see a lot of North Indians working with organization. There is a lot of migrations happens. Foreigners started to come and working. Reverse migration is happening. So we are working in a multi-community. So acculturation process, different cultures are coming together to a workplace. We should have a conscious activity to do the acculturation process. So that is the way you want to engage your employees, collaborate them, involve them in decision making. Workforce demand. We are always thinking of permanent employees. The thing is changing. You may have an exigency. You have some job which is only for maybe a project. You may have to have people for short term. So we should be flexible for all these kind of things. Short term, outsourced or contingent. Coming into performance management where engagements, again we want to put into the engagement category. Performance management concept has drastically changed. Putting the employees in the driving seat, let them decide what is their objectives. He was talking about the SMART objectives. I want to go a step ahead, a smarter objectives. For my organization, which I have set is a smarter objectives. The additions I will say, A means it is aligned to the organizational objectives. And the ER is exciting. Exciting means it should be something better than you have. And R means recorded. It should be documented. So a smarter objectives they have to set. But still here the recent trends goes no rating. You don't rate your employee with other employee. Set a performance improvement mindset. It's again a process of developing a work culture. You set a mindset for continuous improvement. And you set their objectives very periodically, every periodically. That means what is normally happens at the end of the year, every year, you do an appraisal. And you found that this employee has not performed. You have any remedy with you? You have a remedy, give him a less increment or terminate, or give him an idea to improve next year. So 1 year you have lost. So nowadays what most of the organizations does, they set their objectives at the beginning of the performance cycle and periodically, at least in a quarterly basis, they review it whether they are into the right track, whether they are into the right track to achieve the set objectives. And if they found they are not up to the set track, they are not achieving, you have to review the measures you have taken. Maybe with the support of a balanced scorecard or something, you have to review whether the measures you have taken is correct to achieve the set goal. These are the practice which we are all seeing nowadays in the organization. That is also going to be demolished. Each and every time, then and there, employees' performance as assigned, is assessed and reviewed. And then and there, you give guidance to the employee to improve. So it's a continuous review and continuous setting process. It's going to be adopted by most of the corporations. But before you go into that kind of a performance management system, you should know that whether your platform is ready for that, whether your culture, work culture is competent to align this kind of system. Reinventing business impact by HR. HR started involving in the business, understanding business, and started guiding the business. Talent analytic, HR has to do the talent analytic capabilities and report to the management or along with the management and bring outside the big data analytic, identify the big data outside in the market, analyze it, and design your people strategy or people agenda. Going into little detail, over of key questions and findings. HR challenges, what is the context for doing the right HR work? How does HR respond to external trends and help inform strategic choices? View HR from an outside, link HR to external outcomes. This is what actually the outside in concept. View HR from the outside, link HR to external outcomes. What are the outcomes of HR work? When we come to the table, what we are going to discuss? What we are going to discuss, what HR going to do? How does HR build the right organizational capabilities, workplace systems that make the whole greater than individual parts? And the major finding is that create competitive organizational through organizational diagnosis. HR has to do that job of organizational diagnosis, whether the organization is capable to take up the market demand. How does HR ensure a supply of the right talent into the organization by managing the flow of talent? The major finding, define the workforce now and for the future as well. How does HR ensure selection, acculturation, development, performance, and retention of talent, whether employees or other forms of labor? Ensure personal development and growth for employees by eliminating one size fit to all for a diverse and global workforce. So there is nothing fit for all. So you have to be flexible and customize according to the requirement of the workforce. How does HR provide unique insight through analytic and information? Use data to make decisions that have impact and build narrative. So HR started working on data, not only internal, external data, started analyzing and plan the people agenda accordingly in line with the organizational objectives. How does HR department invent itself to have a new DNA and renaissance going forward? So the entire HR concept has to change. HR DNA has to change. And HR has to face a renaissance, go for a renaissance. The work culture concept has to be changed. How HR professionals to continue learn and grow into the future, like everybody does. Manage yourself and come into the personal improvement. And conclusion, making progress, how can HR professionals and departments implement and sustain for their future success to really make the progress? Regarding reimagining, work simplification, it's a big question. HR is always a part of that, how to simplify the work. It's always complex, complicated. We want to simplify it. So HR is a part of that. Machine has talents and technology, use technology into HR, a lot of things. Still leave application coming with a paper signed by the line manager, going to HR, HR has to approve, right? So a lot of self-services are there. Most of the services of human resource become self-serviced. There is criticism that HR will lose the one-to-one contact with the employees. Do you think that HR has to do a one-to-one contact with all the employees? Is it humanly possible? And normally, one HR representative will be for 100 employees, right? If CEOs are kind enough to provide more numbers, we are happy. But having one-to-one interaction with all the employees for each and everything, is it right? If you come to the work performance, if you come to the improvement of the staff, yes. One-to-one interaction, I do agree. But for the leave application, the employee want to see the HR, want to update their profile, the employee want to come and to see the HR. No, technology has gone a lot. The employee go to their own pages, they can go to the self-service, they can update everything. They can inform anything their line managers or the HR or even the management. There is a lot of things technology comes into. And the final thing is social media. We cannot forget about social media. We were talking about the generations. And most probably you know that Gen X, Y and Z is almost social media savvy. We are all social media, right? Every 15 minutes or 20 minutes, even if in a very crucial meeting, I'll look into my screen. Is there anything urgent? It's a tendency, it starts. So it's everything becomes social media. If I'm living without discussing a little bit social media impact on HR, it will not be the justice. So I'll tell you something about social media also. When I was setting up one of the organization, the operational head as well as the IT want to block all the job sites. You have internet access in the hospital, but they want to block access to all job sites. I said, why? No, employees will look for jobs and go. So you don't want to retain them. I said, I don't want to retain them by blocking job sites. If you are not allowing them to look into the job site, they will go outside and at home and see their job sites. At least you give me the data how many of my employees are looking into job sites, so that I will know that how many of my employees are not happy with this organization. Use it as a positive tool. You want to block Orkut, you want to block Facebook, you want to block all these things. Now employees, all human beings living into social media, you cannot block it and utilize it for better impact. For employees life cycle in 3 phases, I want to connect employee into organization. Before joining the company, while they are working with the company, and after leaving the company. Before joining, we use social media to attract employees, is it right? Recruitment, one of the biggest recruitment tool now is social media. We use social media for a lot. P2P recruitment, reputation and brand assessment, employers are developing their brands and their advertisement, everything through social media. Referral schemes, talent communities, organizations culture, giving feedback on an interview, finding companies that match to my area of interest, selecting a particular company, preparing an interview, or even accepting offer letter, everything can be through social media. And while they are in organization, onboarding process, you do orientation programs for the new employees, right? How do you do? Same PowerPoint presentations? Nowadays, it is all e-learning sectors. You give a link to them. They will go through everything. It will be linked through their social media. You need not to have another specific link for that. If they have a social media, any account, any of the social media account, let them go and log into the system. And they will go through all the orientation part. It will be maybe with the puzzles or games or questions or even videos, slides, and let them answer a few questions which you want to the core area, whether to check whether they have gone through the orientation session, whether they understand it. I'm not against you are seeing them and doing a presentation the whole day you want to keep them in a room 1 or 2 days for joining and orientation programs. I think it is a concept which you have to be taken away. Let them be tech savvy, let them be full e-learning platforms, let them learn all these kind of things. You can do the track search to the social media, learning virtual classrooms, this is what we discuss now, ideal generation portal. See, most of the organization, for example, my current organization, or the clinicians, they have their own club like. It's a clinical club where if you want to join, you can also join, even if you are not a clinician, no bar. But they discuss only on clinical topics. If a surgeon has done a wonderful case today or a specific case of academic interest, they will put it in the system and they will start discussing on it. So there is a lot of academic discussion happening through the platform. It's actually enabled by social media. Development groups, retention tools, you can, even we used to have a lot of grapevine communications to identify the pulse of the employees. We used to do that, right? Nowadays, you need not to do that, grapevine theory. In social media, it is fully transparent. Everything open. Employee put their comment, employee put their suggestions, they put their photograph, so you can understand, analyze from that what is happening. It is absolutely transparent and glass door concept. Everything is open and transparent. I know you will have a lot of questions of the negativity of the social media, going into deep into the social media. Organizations want to protect a loss of confidential information, whether it is going to be the public or something. Let's discuss about that. And after leaving, this is also very important. Connected to the company on its alumni network and answer inquiries of enthusiasts who want to join. If anybody want to join a company, now it is not you recruit or you interview a person. Employee or the candidate has a right to select their employer also. They will be thinking that whether it is wise investing my career into this organization. So I have my own reference system. You refer about me, I have no objections, but as a candidate, I want to refer about the organization, how this organization work culture is, not about the salary. The new generation, least worried about the pay. That's what I believe. They worried about the work culture. They worried about their growth and development plan. Whether it's a scope, this company got a wide expansion plan. Is there any career path in front of me? This is what they are thinking of. Interacting with employees in the organization. Once you left, you have already the old colleagues in the organization. There will be again an interaction. It is happening through social medias. Can I move into the operational model? This model of operations is very familiar to you. This is what which normally we are practicing. HR works as a strategic partner. Management of strategic human resources. You make your HR strategy in align with organizational objectives or organizational strategy. You work as a change agent, management of transformation and change, and you are an employee champion. Always you are there to support the employees, management of employees' contribution, and management firms administration. This is administrative role. So this part is related to the process. The other part is related to the people. And here your day-to-day operation, this is the strategic factor. This operation model is very familiar to us. This is what most of the organizations is practicing now. But I want to suggest a new operation model. It's actually, I have hired from KPMG. Its commitment is to KPMG only. So this is what the new model which is proposed. How does the organization strategy drive the HR function? How is the value created through people, and what is people agenda? How HR going to enable it? Strategic value proposition. HR is a part of defining the organization's strategy. Then according to that strategy, HR develop the people agenda. Then HR define the HR value proposition. Design the principles and the process and implement it. This is what the basic method. I'll go a little detail into that. The HR value proposition, that is what which we are going to discuss now. For examples, we said outside in. So staffing, your question is, are we the employer of choice of employees of our customers would choice? Question little confusing. Are the employer is a choice of employees whom our customers are going to choose? So here the customer perspective of an employee is important. Not an organizational perspective is important. Whether our employees are going to be accepted by the customers, that is what the point. Do we involve customers in designing, attending, and delivering training and development? Customers are not going to come and train your employees, but the other way, the customer's feedback, is there an impact? The customer's feedback in developing your employees' competency. Performance management, do our standards of effective performance match customer expectations? Again, we are concentrating to the business and to the customer satisfaction. Rewards, do we involve the customers, suppliers, or investors in allocating rewards? Communication, do our communication tools link employees and customers properly? Leadership, have we created a leadership brand where the leaders' actions are tied to the customer expectations? And culture, does our culture have the right events and patterns and identity? The key stakeholders of HR values, investors and owners, the communities or the regulation makers, partners and dealers, line managers especially. The strategic value, shaping the strategy, creating an organizational traction, that is HR has to do with the line managers. And employees, always HR has the responsibility to make the employees productive and make them competent, commit, and contributory. Customer share, target customers, and customer intimacy. Whether employees are competent to do the customer intimacy, and the employees should be, or the HR should be targets the customer satisfaction. Here when you compare finance, they determine the firm's earnings on cash flow, EBITDA, IVA, and all. The same thing phase 2, intangibles determine ability for the future earnings, your brand, your research and development, your system and talent. Phase 3, the leadership capital, this is what HR has to concentrate, determine leadership readiness, individual leader as well as leadership capability of an organization to take the organization to the future. Yeah, I'll be finishing. HR value proposition, this is the important question whenever you discuss. Finance is doing this. Economic and financial performance, and marketing has to customer interest and patterns, operations have operational efficiency, and HR does what? HR has nothing to do. This is what we want to again. HR has to improve the individual ability as well as organizational capability so that to develop the leaders for the organization. The leadership inventory should be developed by the HR. This is one of the most recent and biggest responsibility of HR for any organization, not only for healthcare. And this is an employee value proposition. You improve the employee's performance, employee gives to the firm what else employee is contributing to the firm and what the firm is giving back to the employee. Developing the employee's career, employee's growth plans, everything is counted, and how much employee is going to give to the organization. So it gives to the HR equity. Clear? And these are the references, suggested readings. 10 answer key for communication with 5-generation workplace. It's a recent publication, it's last year. And generational intelligence, it's a very interesting reading one, a critical approach to age relations. Simon Biggs and Ariel Alonstons in 2015 recently. And 2015 human capital trends leading, it's the Deloitte survey, and redesigning the next generation HR, how to differentiate HR architecture in drive a real business value. That is KPMG 2015 guidelines again. And SHRM healthcare reforms 2015 as well. Thank you very much. It's a main thing to understand what exactly in the mind of an exiting employee. Most of the time, many organizations never take it as a very valid point, but still for analytic purpose, it is done. We want to know that why an employee is leaving the organization. So most of the time, employee will not be telling you the exact reason. But sometimes employee tend to say the reasons. So exit interviews, normally you can have a typical format. You can have, in my organization, any employee leaves from the grade 4 to above, 4 to 1, it is the British system like, has to have an exit interview, not with HR, with the CEO. So CEO normally asks CEO's own questions, but there is a typical format which we have to fill up. And we will do an analysis on it, what the reason. If there is a reason, a common reason, you can apply an 80-20 rule and all. If it is a common reason an employee is leaving, you have to address it. So that is the basic purpose. But this is the leaving employee may show a tendency to complain about his boss or the system. So that kind of a part, negative parts, we may not be taking much into consideration. But the reason of exit, genuine reasons, you find that you have to do an analytics and identify to address those issues to retain the employees. That is normally happening.
Whether it is at the time of exit or otherwise 1 month after everything completion is over. Because the HOD won't give the certificate if they're giving some complaints.
No, it will not be shared with the line manager. This exit interview reports, I never recommend it to be shared with the line manager till the employee leaves. And this is not to take any action against the line manager or any other people, just for an analytic purpose and to understand what exactly happening in the organization. And if it is a genuine issue, you can have a lot of mechanism to understand what is happening. And if it is something reasonable to be addressed, you have to address it, because if there is a valid reason which drain your manpower, then you have to arrest it.
Another thing is performance appraisal.
Please.
You just said that performance appraisal is not mandatory. For
Performance appraisal, that evaluation process on a periodical after 1 year is not recommended. But performance has to be assessed.
For an employee like a nursing or a housekeeping, that and all, you can't do like an HOD performance appraisal like 3 months once or 6 months once. That need yearly once, no?
Every time you have to do that. Each and every, then and there you have to do. See, if you want to set up an objectives for each and every employee in line with your key indicators, department.
HOD's work, no? It's not an HR activities.
No, assessment is always done by line managers, but not as you think. It's against the set objectives. You are checking that whether the employee has achieved the objectives which he has or he has already set for a particular time. We set smart objectives or a smarter objectives. So you have already set an objective which you are going to achieve in a particular time. For example, nurse, you said one of the indicators which you are setting, nosocomial infection or hospital-acquired infection rate has to be reduced into this percentage. Now you say that this is this much percentage. So that is a standard now you have. You want to reduce it. So every nurse have a indicator to reduce the infection rate. And you review every time whether it is reducing. After 3 months, for example, you review the statistics and you say that the infection control rate or infection rate has been increased. Then it is an alarm to you that the measures which you have taken to achieve this objectives is wrong or not it is applicable. You review the measures which you have adopted, not the objectives. Let the objectives
there.
there.
The surveillance and it is a quality indicator also. For a performance appraisal for an individual, it never reflects as an individual performance appraisal. I don't think.
That is which we are proposing, the method called management by objectives. So you have department will have an objectives that has to be cascaded to individual objectives. What in my organization we have different. I have around 6 verticals. Like in medical centers and hospitals, which we do, 60% is absolutely objective. 60% of your total performance score is based typically on objectives. You set minimum 4 objectives, maximum 10 objectives with different weightages according to the importance of the objectives. And every quarterly you check with the support of a balanced scorecard whether you achieved it up to there.
KRI and KPI, you are saying?
It's KPIs, it's all indicators. That indicators, so departmental indicators will be cascaded to individual objectives. That's what to do. And 10% is on their growth and development fully. So if there is a planned growth and development for each and every employee, they have to do that. That will contribute to another 10%. Another 30% will be the set standards and behavior side.
Thank you.
One quick question.
Please.
It's now the recent trend is in most of the global organizations are doing away with the bell curving. It's part of the KPI, KRA, performance measurement. Okay, they identified the traditional system of doing the bell curving, eliminating the totem 10% or 20% of the performance, like organization like Infosys, Accenture, all came in the media. In a healthcare setup, what is your experience in doing bell curving? Do you do the bell curving in your organization or you?
See, bell curve is actually something related to the finance, I believe. Because the basic concept of bell curve says that 34 and 34% of your employees should be mediocres. Is it genuine? I want all my employees are excellent. Employees are setting their objectives according to, take the scenario reverse. You have an organizational objectives. You planned for 1 year, organization has to achieve this, right? That objectives has been cascaded into departmental indicators or departmental objectives. So department's mission has to achieve those objectives so that the organization to achieve the long objectives. Again, you cascaded that departmental objectives into individual objectives. So when you set an objective, the thing in mind has all the employees has to achieve all the objectives set. And if everybody achieve the objectives, then why you want to say that, no, this employee is not excellent? Yes, if you achieve 100%, it's excellent. The only question comes when you pay them increment. Forget about paying increment. See, performance evaluation, performance management system is not for increment. It's not for increment. It's up to you. You have a budget provision for increment, how you want to distribute it. But don't connect it with their performance directly like this, because you don't have budget enough. So you should have only 10% or 2% excellent performing employees, and the other mediocres should be there. Why you want to generate a lot of mediocres? Let all the employees to be excellent. But your increment figure may less for all the employees. That's it. It depends upon your financial stability. You do that. But don't cut down their performance stating that we don't have budget to do increment. Increment is subsequent. Performance is leading to the organizational achievements. You want to add something?
The reality is different. As Harshavatna pointed out, okay, the leadership qualities. So if all the employees, the 100% of your employees are high performers, then the organization would be different. Okay, as HR professionals, we always talk about the right resource mix and the metrics. So if you follow the pyramid structure in terms of the organizational resource pyramid, definitely that the distribution of these quality indicators or the individual's performance indicators follow some statistical trends.
That's always true. All the employees cannot be high performers. It's true that. But we are not against with a bell curve or a rule. We don't want to seal or put a ceiling on the performance of employees. Let them perform. And as you know well, all employees are not going to be excellent performance. It never happens. You put all excellent employees together into a team and assign them a task.
But you need a mechanism to measure it and then transparently convey this message to the people so that they can improve on themselves. If you treat all of them as excellent performers, then how do you convey this to?
I personally, or in my organizations also, we never say that the employees that if you perform this much, you are going to get this much percentage of increment. Nothing we are going to say. We absolutely motivate the employees. These are the objectives which you set. You have to achieve it, and you will have all the support to achieve it. At the end of the period, December, the assessments, it's a calendar year. The assessments we done, and we identify 60% employees has done extremely good. Then the existing budget, we will decide how to distribute for the increment. So we never bother about the figures which we budgeted. And all the employees perform well, all the employees perform mediocre, budget will be the same. There will not be any other budget impact.
Is this a UAE trend?
India, I don't think anybody is practicing because we are very financially strong. So we always say that it should be bell curve. This is the concept which we are discussing about removing the bell curve concept. Well, it's normally if you have ratings again, it comes like achievements we set. It's up to organizations. If an employee is not performing even after giving all these kind of infrastructures and trainings and all these kind of things, still the employee is not dealing with
Non-performance.
And
bell curve is always come with the financial side, right?
no,
Why, that's what he's asking
it's a
about.
statistical distribution. It can be.
Statistical distribution of the
That is
employee
where,
performance.
where is the money coming from? It is by you meeting
By the performance of
organization's
employees
objectives,
only.
by
Yes.
making revenue for the organization. So
Absolutely.
the CFO can give me a money based on how good the employees contributed towards the revenue of the organization. So you need to correlate.
I'll clarify it. The budget provision maybe for 1 million dirham or 2 million US dollar, whatever you budget for the increment for the year of this financial year, that remains same. How do you going to distribute it? It depends upon the performance again. But bell curve, you have a direction in first itself. Your excellent employee should not be above 10%. That's what happening in bell curve concept, right?
Yeah, some people use it, okay, 10 or 20%, but statistically, it has been true, isn't it? But okay, organizations like an IT company or Accenture may be different. But if you are talking about a healthcare organization, you have right from a super specialist to a janitor. That is where you have to apply these principles to measure their performance, which is different.
The
We are
grade of
talking in a different
employees-
context.
Grade of employees is not a concern. An housekeeping employee is setting an objectives according to his job role, right? So if he is achieving all these things in housekeeping department or that functional area, he is an excellent employee. When you take a nurse in the nursing care, there will be an excellent nurse. In another doctor's category you take, there will be an excellent doctor. So all these excellence coming in the same thing. If you want to percentagize it for the increment, you give the same percentage of the salary. It will be same. The doctor will be getting a higher thing always, because they are in the higher pay bracket always.
As you are aware, we have categories of employees. We have somebody who's not even educated, who's working as a laborer, right till the super specialty. And in each category, we have what you just mentioned, 4 to 5 generations of people. So, what you mentioned about, using the latest techniques, use of computers and IT, how far do you think that will work? Because in the end, at least 20% of the people, they don't even know how to switch on a computer.
I understand.
So,
Depends
so
upon.
there, I feel the HR manager has to be one-to-one, or the HOD. And one of these two have to take on that mentoring role and, continuously be in touch with them. Otherwise, we are in trouble.
I agree.
Like a hospital like ours, we have almost more than 300 people in maintenance and
Housekeeping maybe. Yeah.
other than the laborers and so many other the distribution people, dietary people, the waiters. It's a good number. How much, Saji? At least 400? So
It's-
that means 25% of our workforce is
Still you are thinking that they are not tech savvy or
obviously,
even
they don't even
not
know
having
how
an
to
access. See, we are thinking of
Plus the
work
5
culture
generations
till
work.
2020, and I don't think in maybe in Kerala, like a scenario like here, all the people will be going into that techie savvy. But I believe that nobody is using nowadays other than a smartphone. Everybody is having a phone and everybody is using a smartphone. Nobody will use for that Nokia 1013. No one is using 1013. Maybe the Rajinikanth will be the only person who is using still it. All other people have a smartphone and they know how to WhatsApp, they know how to download app, how to do games. I believe that the new generation, maybe the old generation X or below, in this category may be having a problem, but the new generations, Gen Y and X, Z, definitely they know how. If you have a very competent app, which is mobile savvy or mobile app you have, it will be enough to log into these things, and they know how to upload their photos, they know how to edit their photos, they know how to take selfie and put a comment under this and send to their friends. So if they can do all these kind of things, this is also very simple, just applying their leave on through looking their statistics, leave statistics in the system. I think it will be possible. There are practical issues, but that is the future actually.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you, sir. As a token of appreciation, Mr. Abdul Razak will now be presented a memento from our General Manager of IT and HR, Mr. Saji Matthew. So may I call Mr. Saji Matthew to come onto the stage to present the memento to Mr. Abdul Razak.
Excellent.